Good evening, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing another video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know, and it is a very nice evening, the day before Thanksgiving here in Northern California. I'm enjoying some outdoor time, and I'll talk a little bit about bullying in connection to a subject that I've mentioned previously in my videos. That is the unilateral application of rules, one size fits all, without regard for circumstances or special cases. That is to say, not guidelines, but the expectation that a policy is going to always be used and enforced for whatever reason. And in particular, the one I'm referring to is the division between youth and adults at the age of 18 in this part of the world. I've mentioned it in other contexts, but I just learned for myself today, actually, a new context. It's a really bad thing that happens, unfortunately, in this case, where in in some cases, kids grow up fast. Okay, we don't all mature ever, to be honest, or at the same rate. We can agree on that. I like to find agreements. I mention agreements a lot. It's good to agree on things when you can. In this case, I'd like to agree that people develop and mature at different rates. It's a fact. It's pretty provable, measurable. And today I saw something. I'm not going to mention any names or details that might identify anybody, especially if they're young people, but I do want to talk about how bullying is created and reinforced by this rule, this 18-year-old division between minors and adults. And I heard it out of the kid's mouth today that I will, he's talking to his friends or whatever, his buddies, and they're establishing their natural pecking order. I'm not insensitive to that. I understand how that works. But this individual, this young person, has been getting a little bit more hostile each day. And I'm not trying to get into too much detail, but their circumstances, I know a little bit about it just because we share a workspace sometimes. I see some of their family members show up, and I think that this young person is under a considerable amount of stress in their defense. But beside that, the hostility, the antagonism towards the other kids has been on the rise a little bit from this person. And I'm happy to say that there are very few bullies where I work usually, almost none whatsoever. And it kind of rubs me the wrong way to see somebody, making that the main thing. Do what I say or I'm going to, kick your ass, he said. And they said, "Oh, you won't kick our ass. We're in the library." He said, well, I'll just wait until we're outside. Okay, well, that's a whole separate conversation, why you shouldn't delay the truth. You should not do anything you can't do in broad daylight, first of all, but I didn't get into all that with anybody today. I did, however, say, hey, I'm sorry, did I hear you right? You're going to go outside and do what exactly? At this point, I'm trying to remind this young person that, yeah, no, there's bigger people than you, son. Before you go around just harassing all these little dudes that are running around who happen to be minors as well. And I think somebody asked him because he said, "Oh no, he can't do anything. I'm a minor," referring to me after I spoke to him. So, okay, wait a minute. Not to dwell on this situation because that's not really the point, but are those kids you're bullying who are smaller and younger than you not minors as well? Have you thought this through, genius? I mean, I don't want to be too rude about it, but sometimes people just need a little wake-up call, and it starts when they're in their formative years, if you ask me. That's when you make the impressions that carry forward into their adult behavior when it really, really matters. So I did say, hey, look, man, you don't have to go outside. You don't have to go outside. And if you're a minor, then what's your dad's name? I did ask him, I said, hey, what's your dad? I've seen your dad in here. What's his name? He told me to mind my business. This little kid told me, he's not that little, but he said, none of your business. Okay, well then, I guess you're not a minor then, because there's a problem here. And granted, it's not really my job to manage these kids until there is some, hostility or violence or a reasonable expectation thereof. And to be honest, I was tired of hearing him threaten the other kids. And it's been, like I said, on the rise lately. And I don't really need to put up with that. I can say something. I'm there. At which point the kids break skin, then it becomes a problem for the library, if you ask me. Before that, we're all good. There's no problem. So my point in relation to the subject of this video is that this hard line between 17-year-olds and 19-year-olds that is expected to work and serve some kind of purpose has a double edge to it, doesn't it? It has an unfair implication for everybody. And in a bigger sense, any unilateral rule, while equal, is only equal in the sense that it is unfair to everybody. I want to say that twice. Unilateral rules, that is laws, policies that are expected to apply to everyone without regard for circumstances or special cases, are only equally unfair to everybody. They're going to empower unfairly half of the people. They're going to limit the other half who would be responsible. And it's a bad, lazy solution to roll out unilateral policies in any case, without due process, without consideration, without waiting for there to be what I call probable cause. Right? Maybe there's no problem. Maybe someone's a guest on your property and they're not trespassing. Are we going to take the time to find out if they're a guest, because it seems to be important, isn't it? For example. Anyhow, these kids are great, though. They crack me up. And the last thing I'll say about this, I have nothing but warmth in my heart for all the people that I spend the day with, until it becomes impossible to be considerate towards them due to things like I've been unfortunately running into lately. There's this other lady I've mentioned in my videos. She's pooping all over the library property, and it finally came to a head, and I chased her off. But what do you do? I mean... Her defense, after I said, can you please stop defecating on the wall at the library, she said, well, you don't own the library. Is that your defense? I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh in your face, but some people, I don't know what to do besides, you have to be assertive at some point. You have to actually have a spine, stand up to them and say, no, you cannot poop on the library wall. That's just not going to happen. I realize that the toilets are in short supply. Believe me, no one is more sensitive to that than I am. You can't poop on the wall. You're not even trying to cover it up. That's a separate story, separate video. I probably won't even make that video. But same idea with the kid who's going to bully everybody because he's a minor. Think about your rules. Think about your reasons for enforcing them, saying the rules are the rules. Yeah, well, on a good day, they have mostly bad effects. Be considerate. Consider circumstances. That's the only thing you can do as a decent person. Reach out if you like with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.